Hey everyone, welcome to the English Speaking Show. I am Jake.
And I am Ella. So glad you are here with us today.
Ella, I tried to sound professional in a meeting yesterday and it completely backfired.
What did you say?
I wanted to ask my senior colleague a question and I said, "May you explain the new process to me?"
Oh no.
She paused just for a second. Then she answered, and afterwards another colleague pulled me aside and said, "You should have said, 'Could you explain?' or 'Can you explain?' May you sounds very strange."
He's right. It does sound strange.
But why? I thought may was the polite formal word. I was trying to be professional.
May is the polite formal word, but only when you are the one asking. May I, correct. May you, never.
Nobody told me that.
Nobody tells anyone, and that is exactly why we are doing this today. Can, may, and could. 3 words, 3 completely different jobs. And there are 3 surprises. At least one of them will change how you speak professionally.
Already nervous. Let's go. Start with the most common one, can.
The one I use for everything.
Can does 2 main jobs. The first, ability, what someone is capable of doing.
She can speak 3 languages. He can drive. I can help you with that.
Exactly. Present ability, general ability, things that are true about what someone can do.
And the second job.
Permission, asking and giving it in everyday spoken situations.
Can I sit here? Can I come in? You can use my phone.
All natural, all correct. And this is where I want to say something important because a lot of learners feel uncertain about this.
About using can for permission?
Yes, many learners were told can is for ability, not permission. Saying can I is wrong. You should say may I.
I was told that too.
And here is the truth. Using can for permission in spoken English is not wrong. It is the natural everyday form. Native speakers say can I constantly, in offices, in meetings, in professional conversations, everywhere.
So my teacher was drawing a distinction that does not really apply in real spoken life?
One of the most respected grammar authorities in the world describes insisting on may over can for permission in everyday spoken situations as the position of, and this is a direct quote, an insufferable precision.
An insufferable precision. I love that.
The point is, can I leave early? Can I ask you something? Can I join the call? All completely natural in any spoken context. Never feel uncertain about can I.
That is genuinely a relief. So when does may come in? Hello.
May is can's formal version. You use it in official spoken situations, formal meetings, institutional settings, very professional contexts.
Like, may I be excused? May I introduce myself?
Exactly. Or, you may proceed to the interview room. You may begin the presentation. May signals a formal register. It sounds correct and natural in those contexts.
But in a normal office conversation, can I sounds more natural than may I.
Almost always. And this is where the formality ladder becomes really useful. 3 ways to ask the same thing. Different levels of formality. Show me.
Can I use your charger? Casual, direct, everyday spoken.
Could I use your charger? Polite, considerate, professional spoken.
May I use your charger? Formal, official, slightly old-fashioned in casual spoken contexts.
Same question. 3 levels, like a volume dial.
Exactly. Can, normal. Could, polite. May, very formal.
And all 3 are correct.
All 3 are correct. You choose based on the situation and the person you are speaking to.
Now back to my meeting mistake. May is the formal polite word. So why was may you explain that wrong?
Because may only works when I is the subject. May I, correct. May I ask, may I join, may I be excused, all correct.
But the moment I pointed at someone else,
May you, never correct. For requests directed at someone else in spoken English, always can or could.
so may you explain that Wrong.
Could you explain that? Correct.
May you come to the meeting? Wrong.
Can you come to the meeting? Correct.
May you pass me that? Wrong.
Could you pass me that? Correct.
I have definitely said may you more than once in my life.
Most learners have. It comes from the right instinct, trying to be polite and formal in spoken situations. The fix just has one limitation nobody explains.
May I, always fine. May you, never.
And I want to tell you about the time I learned this the hard way.
Tell me.
I was at a restaurant with a group of colleagues. The waiter came to take our order. I wanted to ask if they had a vegetarian option, and I said, "May you check if there is something without meat?"
To the waiter?
To the waiter. He looked at me with a very polite but very confused expression, then went to check. My colleague leaned over and said, "You just say, 'Can you check?' or 'Could you check?' May you is not something we say to other people."
In front of everyone.
In front of everyone. The waiter came back, answered my question, and I spent the rest of the dinner thinking about it.
But again, the instinct was right. You were trying to be polite.
Exactly, and the fix is so simple. Could you check? Completely natural. May you check? Never correct. One small rule, nobody tells you.
Now, can we see how can and may actually work together in a real spoken situation?
Yes, role play. We are colleagues. I need to ask you two things in person. Borrow your laptop for a presentation and leave the office an hour early today. You are my senior colleague.
Ready when you are. Hey, Ella, do you have a second?
Of course, what's up?
I have a presentation this afternoon and my laptop is not working properly. May you lend me yours for a couple of hours?
You mean, could you lend me yours or can you lend me yours, not may you.
Right, sorry. Could you lend me your laptop for a couple of hours?
Of course, no problem at all.
And one more thing. Could I leave about an hour early today? I have something I need to sort out.
Yes, that should be fine. Can you make sure everything is covered before you go?
Absolutely. I will sort it all before I leave. Thank you.
Good. Let's look at what happened there.
I used may you at the start, wrong, then corrected to could you lend me your laptop? Correct.
Could you, polite spoken request directed at someone else, exactly right.
Could I leave early? Also correct. I am asking permission for myself.
Could I, polite spoken permission request. And notice, can you make sure everything is covered? That was me asking you directly, casual and natural between colleagues.
Can for a direct spoken request between equals. Could for a more polite request, especially to someone senior.
And may would also have worked for could I leave early, but it would have sounded very formal for an everyday office conversation.
So the latter in action. Can for direct, could for polite, may I for very formal.
That is the whole system. And now, could has a second life that surprises almost everyone.
Could has a second life, so what else does it do beyond polite requests?
4 things, actually, and 2 of them catch people constantly in spoken situations.
Start with the one I already know, polite requests.
Could you explain that again? Could I have 5 minutes of your time? Could we push the meeting back? All polite spoken requests, more considerate than can, gives the other person more room to say no.
And could for suggestions.
Could presents an idea as one option, not a recommendation, not pressure, just a possibility.
We could try a different approach. You could ask her directly, could we meet at 3 instead?
Exactly. And notice how different that feels from should.
You should call him. That feels like advice, like I really ought to.
You could call him. That feels like one option among several, no pressure. The other person can say no, and it feels fine.
Could is softer, more respectful.
Always. Now, could for past ability. This is where it gets interesting.
Could is the past form of can for general abilities.
General abilities that existed over a period of time. She could swim before she started school. He could speak Portuguese when he lived in Brazil. I could run a lot faster when I was younger.
A skill you had, something you were generally capable of over time.
Exactly. But here is where most learners make a mistake. One specific moment in the past, one thing that happened once, could does not work in the positive form.
Wait, what do you mean?
I ran after the bus and could catch it. That sounds wrong, even though could is the past of can.
It does sound wrong, but why?
Because could in the positive form describes a general ability, not a single specific success. For one specific moment where something worked, you need was able to or managed to.
So I ran after the bus and was able to catch it.
Correct. Or I ran after the bus and managed to catch it.
And managed to sounds harder, like it took more effort.
Yes. Was able to says you succeeded. Managed to says you succeeded despite difficulty or pressure.
The presentation was difficult, but I managed to finish it on time.
The traffic was terrible, but I managed to arrive before it started.
She managed to get the last ticket.
All of them, specific single successes. All need was able to or managed to, not could.
What about the negative, I couldn't catch the bus? Is that fine?
Always fine. Couldn't works for both general past inability and a specific moment you failed. The restriction only applies to the positive form for specific successes.
So could, general past ability, was able to or managed to one specific success, couldn't, always fine for any past failure.
Exactly. Now, could and may for possibility. Both can express possibility in spoken situations that at different levels of certainty.
How different?
May signals a real, reasonable chance, something the speaker genuinely thinks might happen.
It may rain this afternoon. Bring a jacket.
She may be in the other building. The meeting may run a bit longer today. Real possibilities. The speaker thinks there is a genuine chance.
And could?
Could is more uncertain, more conditional, one of several possible outcomes.
It could rain later, I'm not sure.
That could be the issue, worth checking. She could be stuck in traffic. Possible, but the speaker is less confident.
So may sounds more sure. Could sounds like maybe, one possibility among others.
In most spoken situations, yes. May says, I genuinely think this might happen. Could says, this is one of several possible outcomes and I am not certain.
Now, may not, if may means it might happen, may not means it might not happen.
Exactly. May not expresses uncertainty. It is possible that something did not happen or will not happen, but the speaker is not sure either way.
She may not have heard what I said. I am not certain whether she heard or not.
He may not be free tomorrow. They may not have understood the instructions. Possible that they did not, but uncertain.
And couldn't?
Completely different. Couldn't expresses near certainty that something was impossible.
So she may not have heard me, I am unsure. She couldn't have heard me, it was impossible.
Exactly, and I made this mistake in a spoken conversation not long ago.
Tell me.
A colleague and I were talking about someone who had missed a meeting. I said, she may not have received the message. My colleague said, are you saying she possibly did not receive it or that it was impossible for her to receive it?
And which did you mean?
I meant it was impossible. She had been traveling with no phone signal all day, but may not came out because I was using it as a softer way to express impossibility.
But may not does not mean impossible.
May not means uncertain. Possibly she did not. For impossible, I needed couldn't have. She couldn't have received the message. She had no signal.
One phrase completely changed the meaning of what you were saying.
And in a spoken conversation, people draw conclusions based on exactly that choice. May not, the listener thinks you are unsure. Couldn't, the listener understands it was impossible.
Side by side, she may not have understood what I said. She couldn't have understood. She was not even in the room.
Two sentences, two completely different meanings, one small difference in the words you choose.
And this connects to something else. using these words to draw conclusions out loud about a situation.
Yes, she's not answering her phone. She must be in a meeting. Near certain. She could be stuck in traffic. Possible explanation. She can't still be asleep. It is nearly noon. Near certain it is not true.
So, can't for spoken deductions. I am almost certain it is not true.
Same word, same strength. Whether you are saying something is impossible or drawing a conclusion, can't signals near certainty that something is not the case.
Now, can we hear all of this in a real spoken situation?
Yes. Role play. We are planning a social gathering together. I will start the conversation.
Ready.
Right. So the plan is for Saturday evening. How many people do you think could come?
Maybe 8 or 10. Sarah may not be free. She mentioned something earlier, but the others should be fine.
That works. And for food, we could order from that place on the high street, or we could cook something simple ourselves.
I could handle the drinks if you sort the food.
Perfect. And music. Could you make a playlist? You're much better at that than me.
Of course. Oh, and the venue. My place may be too small for 10 people.
It could work if we use the garden as well, or we could ask Marcus. He has a bigger space.
Good idea. I managed to borrow some extra chairs last time we did something like this. I could do the same again.
Perfect. I think this could actually be really good. Good. Let's pull out the T moments.
Sarah may not be free. May not, expressing uncertainty. I do not know for certain, just possible she is not available.
We could order or we could cook. Could for suggestions. 2 options offered without pressure.
Could you make a playlist? Polite spoken request, directed at someone else. Could you? Natural and considerate.
My place may be too small for 10 people. May for possibility, a genuine concern the speaker thinks might be true.
And I managed to borrow chairs, specific single past success. Managed to, not could.
All of them working together in one natural spoken conversation. Now, let's see if you can choose the right word.
5 situations. Say your answer out loud before we give it, and some of these have a surprise, so do not assume there is only one correct answer.
Situation 1. Your colleague says out loud, "Can I borrow your pen?" Is this correct? A. Yes, completely correct. B. No, they should say, "May I borrow your pen?"
The answer? A. Completely correct.
Can for permission in spoken English is not wrong. It is the natural everyday form. Native speakers say "can I" constantly in offices, meetings, and professional conversations.
And if you have ever been corrected for saying "can I" in a spoken situation, you were not wrong. Your instinct was right all along.
May I is also correct, just more formal, but can I is never wrong.
Situation 2. I ran after the bus and blank catch it. A. Could. B. Was able to.
The answer, B. I ran after the bus and was able to catch it.
Could works for general past stability over time. I could run fast when I was young, but for one specific successful moment in the past, was able to or managed to is the correct choice.
I ran after the bus and could catch it sounds wrong, even though could is the past of can. The restriction applies only to specific single past successes in the positive form.
Couldn't is always fine for a specific past failure. I couldn't catch the bus. The restriction is only on the positive side.
And if this episode is helping you, please subscribe. New episodes every week, and we would love to see you back.
Situation 3, and this one surprises almost everyone. 2 spoken sentences. Which is correct? A. She may not have understood what I said. B. She couldn't have understood. She wasn't even listening.
Both are correct, but they mean completely different things.
A means it is possible she did not understand. The speaker is uncertain either way.
B means it was impossible she understood. The speaker is near certain it did not happen.
Same structure, one small difference, 2 completely different meanings in a spoken conversation.
May not, uncertain. Possibly she did not. Couldn't, near certain it was impossible.
And if you were in a spoken situation and you want to express impossibility, couldn't have is your phrase, not may not.
Situation 4. You want to ask your manager something politely in person. Which sounds most natural? A. May you give me some feedback on this? B. Could you give me some feedback on this?
The answer, B. Could you give me some feedback on this?
May you is never correct for spoken requests directed at someone else. Could you is the polite professional choice for any spoken request directed at another person.
And can you give me some feedback also works, slightly more direct but completely natural between colleagues.
The rule is simple. May I for yourself, could you or can you for everyone else.
Situation 5, and this is the one that locks everything in. 3 spoken sentences. Which are correct? A. May you explain that again? B. Could you explain that again? C. Can you explain that again?
B and C are both correct. A is never correct.
May you, never correct for spoken requests directed at someone else. Always wrong, no exceptions.
Could you, polite, professional, considerate, the go-to for spoken requests in professional situations.
Can you, direct, natural, completely acceptable in any spoken context between colleagues.
B and C, both right. A, never. And that is the rule that fixes the most common spoken mistake we hear from learners trying to sound formal and polite.
May I, correct. May you, never. Now let's bring everything together.
Can, ability and everyday spoken permission. She can drive. Can I sit here? Can you hear me? Natural in any spoken situation, casual or professional. And never feel uncertain about can I. It is completely correct.
Could, polite spoken requests, suggestions, past general ability, and uncertain possibility. Could you explain that again? We could try something different. I could run faster when I was younger. It could rain later.
And for one specific past success in spoken situations, was able to or managed to, not could.
May, formal spoken permission. May I ask a question? You may proceed. May I be excused? Always with I as the subject.
The central rule.
Can is for ability and everyday permission. Could is for polite requests and suggestions. May is for formal permission, but only ever may I, never may you.
And may not means it possibly did not happen. The speaker is uncertain. Couldn't means it was impossible. Not the same thing, even though they sound similar in spoken conversation.
One phrase, completely different meaning.
Now, your comment challenge. Think of a spoken situation from your own life, a request you made, a suggestion you gave, a possibility you mentioned. Write one sentence using can, could, or may in the comments.
Mine, could you give me 5 minutes when you are free? I say this constantly now instead of may you give me 5 minutes.
Mine, may I ask one more question before we finish? I use this in formal spoken situations and it always lands well.
Write yours, one spoken sentence. We read every single one.
And if you want to go deeper on could, especially for hypothetical spoken situations, our episode on could versus should versus would covers that in detail. The 2 episodes sit really well together. The link is in the description.
And if this episode helped, please subscribe. New episodes every week. Real English for real life.
Thank you for being here today. See you in the next one.
Take care, everyone.